He was looking forward to the opening of his huge new plant at Braddock, looking forward to the age of steel. On August 22nd, 1875, Carnegie witnessed the greatest fireworks display modern industry could produce. Blasts of air burned out impurities in his molten iron, and a silver-white liquid, steel, was poured into waiting molds that would form ingots, ingots that would be rolled into rails. With calculated flattery, Carnegie named his plant the Edgar Thompson Works for the president of the Pennsylvania Railroad. It was known as E.T. His first order was 2,000 steel rails for the Pennsylvania Railroad. Carnegie shocked a meeting of mill owners who divided the rail market among them by demanding a share equal to the largest.
Carnegie arrives and announces that he's bought stock in all their companies, and he's read their reports, and he sees, as he goes around the table pointing at various people, that this president makes $50,000 a year and has an $80,000 a year expense account, and so on, whereas his president makes $5,000 a year and has no expense account. I know my costs, he says, and I know yours. And if you don't give me the share I want, in effect, he says, I'll run you all out of business because you can't compete with me.
Carnegie knew his plant was efficient and his approach unique. His competition would eye profits. He would eye costs. And he developed a system to track them day by day, penny by penny. His dictum at the Edgar Thompson Works was, watch the costs and the profits take care of themselves. He would move steel in big volumes like the railroads, run his furnaces fast and full. Data on costs and volume were wired to Carnegie in New York. From there, he badgered his managers and tried to inspire a spirit of competition among his workers. It seemed to work.
All you had to do was pit one furnace against another. For the prize of being the best producer of that week, you got to post a steel broom at the top of your smokestack. And the men actually got into the spirit. It was part of the competitive spirit of America. And when one plant would triumphantly say, we broke all records this week, Carnegie's response was, what about next week?
The new record raised next week's quota. If a manager or work crew fell behind, they would be fired. Competition was a driving force, but it drove the workers 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. The only holiday they got was the 4th of July. The efficiency of the plant, so important to Carnegie, reduced workers to unskilled tenders of machines, easily replaced, often dehumanized. Those who had dominated the metal business before the age of steel found it especially hard. They were craftsmen who were used to controlling the process of making wrought iron, literally cooking it in small batches.
And it's an art, not a science. And it was an art practiced by these people called puddlers, who pushed it and stirred it and literally spat upon it and judged it by its color and the color of the flames that shot out of it to announce when this cooking was done. With the shift from puddling to the Bessemer process comes also a shift in control of the workplace. And this, of course, the union was most reluctant to see happen, and Carnegie and the other managers were most anxious to see happen.
From the moment E.T. opened, workers and their unions battled Carnegie for livable wages and control of the shop floor. A decisive battle would come in a matter of years. But the days of the puddler, of all creative labor in a mill, were numbered. At E.T., Carnegie introduced a scale of production that was daunting and irreversible. As the Industrial Revolution had claimed the jobs of handloom weavers like his father, it would now claim skilled craftsmen like the puddlers. The change from the age of iron to the age of steel had human costs, but not for Carnegie. He was able to foresee the revolution and to harness it.
I think Carnegie's genius was, first of all, an ability to foresee how things were going to change. Once he saw that something was of potential benefit to him, he was willing to invest enormously in it. If he was told by one of his mill managers that a plant that they had built or a department in the plant that they had built was not operating as efficiently as they hoped it would or they thought it would, his answer would be to simply rip it out. Rip it out and start all over again, because he wanted to have the most efficient kind of operation. I think for other businessmen at the time, this just didn't seem to be good business practice at all. And I think that they regarded him as someone who was very audacious, who was very reckless in what he was doing, and I think for a long period of time probably felt that he was doomed to failure.
They were wrong. Carnegie's brash assault on the world of steel was a success from the start. He was mass-producing steel, cheap steel that fueled the growth of a nation. Three years after E.T. opened, Carnegie got the contract to supply the structural steel for the Brooklyn Bridge. A minister at the dedication remarked on the metal that built the bridge. Steel, he declared, is the chiefest of modern instruments, the kingliest instrument of peoples for subduing the earth. The industry Carnegie was beginning to dominate had come to symbolize America's technological development and national greatness. Carnegie was so proud of his new plant, he begged his English mentor Herbert Spencer to come to Pittsburgh to see how a new industrial order had evolved.
Carnegie believed he was playing out Spencer's concept of progress toward utopia. And he finally succeeds in getting Spencer to come to visit Pittsburgh, and Spencer saw what Carnegie thought was the industrial utopia as a kind of nightmare of late 19th century industrialism.